The White House releases President Biden's next plans to reassure concerned Democrats after last week's debate. And July 4th holiday travelers are expected to break records on the road amid soaring temperatures. The Morning Rundown starts now.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world. This is the Morning Rundown.
Today is Wednesday, July 3rd. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kara Rucker. President Joe Biden and his team are taking this holiday week to reassure supporters that his decision to remain in the presidential race is the right one, after his performance during last week's debate left some in his party questioning his candidacy. During a campaign fundraiser event in Virginia on Tuesday, Biden blamed his poor performance on jet lag from back-to-back European trips, telling donors that he wasn't very smart and didn't listen to his staff. Reports saying Biden added that he almost, quote, fell asleep during the debate. To what extent the president was joking is not clear. Previously, Biden's campaign had said the president had a cold going into the night. Today, the president will speak with Democratic governors and party leaders as he looks to calm their fears. The White House reportedly will also be holding an all-staff meeting, which the AP describes as a morale booster. Biden has also agreed to sit down for an interview with ABC News on Friday. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre saying the administration really wants to turn the page on this topic, with Biden heading to Wisconsin and Pennsylvania in the coming days. But that didn't stop reporters from pressing the issue.
I think the American people need to get a yes or no answer on this. Does President Biden, at 81 years old, have Alzheimer's, any form of dementia or degenerative illness that would cause these sorts of lapses? And it's a yes or no question. And if you don't know, why don't you, as one of his senior staff members, know?
I have an answer for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
It's a no. And I hope you're asking the other guy the same exact question.
This all comes as some members of the Democratic Party are speaking out for Biden to step aside. Congressman Lloyd Doggett of Texas became the first sitting Democrat in Congress to call on Biden to withdraw from the race.
I thought it was time for me to speak up, not for any self-gain, but because I think the risk to our country is so great, and we need to have the strongest candidate possible in order to assure that the values that we hold for our democracy are not traded for an authoritarian strongman bent on revenge against his opponents.
And in a Newsweek opinion column, former Ohio Congressman and presidential candidate Tim Ryan promoted the idea for Vice President Kamala Harris to replace Biden on their party's ticket. Speaking to CBS News after leaving a fundraiser in California, the vice president confirming President Biden remains the Democratic nominee.
Look, Joe Biden is our nominee. We beat Trump once, and we're going to beat him again, period.
Are you ready to lead the country if necessary?
I am proud to be Joe Biden's running mate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Former President Donald Trump's sentencing in his New York criminal trial has been pushed back to at least September. The judge's decision comes a day after the U.S. Supreme Court handed Trump a big win, ruling he has some immunity from being criminally prosecuted on charges of attempting to overturn the 2020 election. Trump's sentencing in New York was originally scheduled for next Thursday, July 11th. Now the judge overseeing the trial says Trump will be sentenced on September 18th if that's still necessary. That's an if because Trump's lawyers say the Supreme Court's ruling should not only delay the sentencing, but lead to tossing out his conviction completely. Trump taking to Truth Social after this decision came down, saying the Supreme Court's decision awarded him total exoneration in this and other criminal cases he faces. Trump became the first former president to be convicted of a felony in May, when the Manhattan jury found him guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records. The Supreme Court's decision has cast doubt on special counsel Jack Smith's indictment of Trump on election subversion charges, and a trial before the November election is highly unlikely. The ruling could also impact Trump's indictments in the classified documents and Georgia election interference cases. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani has been disbarred in New York after a Manhattan appeals court found he repeatedly made false statements about former President Donald Trump's loss in the 2020 election, the court saying he flagrantly misused his position. Giuliani, a one-time legal advisor to Trump, has been banned from practicing law in any form in New York. Giuliani's lawyer saying his legal team was disappointed by the court's decision. And Giuliani's legal issues continue as he could also lose his law license in Washington, D.C., after a board recommended in May that he be disbarred. He is also facing bankruptcy after being ordered to pay nearly $150 million for defaming 2 Georgia election workers. Directly in Hurricane Beryl's path is Jamaica. The country's prime minister has already declared the whole island a disaster area and put a curfew in place ahead of landfall. Beryl has been downgraded to a Category 4 storm now, but it's already caused at least 6 deaths in the Caribbean. Beryl is forecast to weaken more as it gets closer to Jamaica, but could still hit as a Category 3, bringing life-threatening winds and storm surge. Hurricane forecasters for AccuWeather say the storm is expected to enter the Gulf of Mexico this weekend, where its next landfall could be anywhere from the coast of Mexico to South Texas. The FDA has approved a new drug found to moderately slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease, the second of its kind to be approved. Eli Lilly's drug has been shown in clinical trials to slow a decline in memory and thinking abilities in people in the early stages of the disease. The drug, which will be sold in the coming weeks under the brand name Kisunla, is an infusion given every 4 weeks that targets a protein buildup in the brain, considered to be the main indicator of Alzheimer's. According to the Alzheimer's Association, an estimated 6.7 million people in the U.S. 65 and older were living with Alzheimer's last year. That number is expected to nearly double by 2060. Finally this morning, the July 4th holiday is almost here, and while you get set to celebrate America's independence, you may find yourself having to face 2 separate issues: the weather and the roads. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration saying the brief break from the heat in the eastern U.S. is over, with heat and humidity pushing through New England. In California and portions of the Southwest, triple-digit temperatures are expected throughout the holiday week. Meanwhile, in the Midwest, they're predicting rain could spoil the cookouts. Then there's the jam-packed roadways. AAA projecting a record 60 million people will drive over the July 4th week, and that's nearly 3 million more than last year. And this year's number surpassing 2019's pre-pandemic levels, when around 55 million traveled by car. Besides the weather and traffic, we have one more interesting stat to share, this one about the food. Americans eat 150 million hot dogs on the 4th. And whether you put ketchup, mustard, or even mayo on yours, we hope you enjoy the holiday with good food, friends, and family. The Rundown will return on Friday. Until then, I'm Kara Rucker. Have a great 4th of July.